when their guy plays some games.
Alright, hi y'all. Weather Guy here. We're back with more of the great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're going into trial part 2 of the final case, which is crazy. I just actually had to restart my recording because on the previous one, daughter ran in here because she thought I was calling her, but I was just talking to you folks. But yeah, we're back in trial. I just had a big gulp of Coke too, so hopefully I can contain it. Before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice. And the discovery that a respected yard inspector was at its heart until he himself perished in an assassination plot. Well, I say to all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Counsels, you will undertake this trial with your resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. There's the word resolve. Resolve, yes, that's the name of this episode. My lord, if I may inquire, the defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Asogi permitted to continue his role as prosecutor? He has admitted to colluding with the victim in a plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted a written petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life for the last 10 years has all been leading up to this 1 day. Kazuma, whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. And I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper. Kazuma is bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression we're heading into very dangerous territory. Is that really even Kazuma standing before us? As an extreme exception to normal practice, I have granted this prosecutor's request. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume? Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Barak Van Zeeks. The defense is ready, my lord. Is it time for Judge Jigoku? The prosecution is more than ready. Very well then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. Perfect. Let's get into it. As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Sashiro Jigoku into the courtroom. At last then, we've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. Come on, Ryu. It's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test it to the limit. Let's go. There he is, the man of the hour. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court. So it was you who issued this, was it? Your subpoena? I did what was necessary. Well, look what the young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you take that tone with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. Judge versus judge. Dick versus dick. My name is Sashiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge from the Empire of Japan. 16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am, of course, fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. I hear he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiations. I put my all into that treaty. Judge Jigoku, I must ask. Well, I never fancied a young murdering student turning up here of all places. You acquitted me yourself, and now I'm a practicing defense lawyer. Yes, handful of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom. I see. You came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium, but then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France. Took flight? I'd have to object to that turn of phrase. Then explain yourself. What exactly were the circumstances? Well, I was somewhat expecting this, and I'm sorry to say, I decline to comment. Boo. What? Leaving the country prematurely when I was an invited guest may be questionable etiquette, but my decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify. Unrelated, you say? I appreciate that a respected police inspector has been killed, for which I offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I'd obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. It's as simple as that. We already have evidence against that by the list that was sent to him, because it has Gregson's name on it. So you would run from all this? I beg your pardon. This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now. A year ago in Japan? The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean? That's right. And you, Judge Jigoku, are at the heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it. Well, Ryu, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end, too. That's right, we're gonna solve this, buddy. Let's see your evidence then. Easy, 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 easy. Boom. This is a telegram detailing a communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communication contained 4 names: Keisogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. You little... Oh gosh, he does that hard. Where did you get that? In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Jigoku. What? How on earth did you... What's this all about? Why is my name on that list? This list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. Keisogi and A. Shin are the names of assassins. No. A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett, but her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain. A. Shin and her victim, J. Wilson. And the murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassin sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Isogi, whose victim was the British police inspector Tobias Gregson. K. Isogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other. What exactly is the defense suggesting? These 2 cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. And the telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill. What? What? The telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you. Judge Jigoku, what's this all about? And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you'd accepted the assassination mission, but the mark wasn't Judge Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard, as shown by the name on the killing contract. Very impressive, Ryu. But actually, I didn't lie. The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Shishiro Jigoku was the mark came entirely from you. You deliberately avoided saying a name. The defense claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say for yourself? Is it witness time? His silence only goes to prove his guilt. There's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Grouse. Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now. To refuse would put you in contempt of court. There is no need for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well then, as a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know. Here we go, it's cross-examination time. It seems this Japanese gentleman has information that the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange and the events of the night of the 31st October. Present your formal testimony now. Here we go. As you wish, my lord. It's true that Kazuma Sogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there had been a shot fired, the crewman would have heard it. So clearly I can't be involved. We already know that there's a time when the crewman wasn't there because we saw in an earlier piece of evidence that they do an evacuation drill where the crewmen are gone for 20 minutes. So you admit it then, as this communication suggests. There really was an assassin exchange arrangement between Britain and Japan. A political endeavor at the highest levels, not something I can discuss here. To use such a worthy practice as foreign study to coerce somebody to commit murder, it's the most appalling thing I've ever heard. Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge. Pardon? Asogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know. What? Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel? This is going to be about how Gregson helped put away Kazuma's father. Kazuma? Judge Jigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain. I'm not obliged to divulge that information. As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassin exchange that the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case. The crucial point is this. Your police inspector can't have perished aboard that steamship in Dunkirk, because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it. That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London in the room on Fresno Street. We have so much proof against this. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Barak Van Zieks. You know, I had a comment recently about someone who talked about how they were very happy that they were able to get through this case without ever having a fail state. And so far, I commented back that I thought I would not be able to do that. I thought I would have a fail state because of just the sheer amount of evidence. But I'll say that right now I'm getting a pretty clear picture of where I'm going to be going for the next scene or two with what I'm presenting as evidence. So maybe I will be able to get this without failing. I don't know. Prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. Alright, now we have to press, we have to present evidence, all that good stuff. To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings. Clearly it's a plot only a government minister and high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute. Well, I seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything. Be that as it may, it is not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. It's 1,000,000% Strongheart behind the other end. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, counsel? I don't know about this, guys. Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. There we go. Now it's time to cook. Press. A year ago, when Kazuma was still in Japan then. Correct. It was at the examination center for applicants for the study tour that I approached him. I'll never forget it. I remember exactly what you said. You just came out and asked me for forthright if I consider traveling to Britain on an assassination mission. Surely not. I thought it was a joke at first, of course, but then it was made clear to me that if I didn't accept, I wouldn't be considered for the study tour. Wow, what a weak slap that was, Ryu, Jesus. So you agreed to it just for that? I mean, I know how much you wanted to study in England, but assassination? We'll get to that part. The Empire of Japan had accepted a proposal from the British Empire at the time, an agreement to send a student from each country to the others to deepen cultural understanding and friendship. But behind the scenes, the chosen students were to be given assassination missions. I had no choice but to accept the proposal that originated from my British counterpart. No choice. Why didn't you expose the plot there and then? He was blackmailed. This 1,000,000% goes back to the earlier case 10 years ago. Britain acknowledges no part in these alleged misbegotten dealings. I advise you not to make spurious allegations, Foreign Minister Jigoku. As a witness, I am bound to tell the truth, my lord. Anyway, I picked Asogi and explained the details of the plan to him.
Hold it!
Why Kazuma? Why did you pick him as the assassin? He was the most capable of all the applicants, and in addition, I knew his desire to travel to Britain was very strong. In fact, it was almost more than a desire. It was his whole purpose in life. Yes, as his best friend, I can certainly attest to that. The way he threw himself into his studies, the way he pursued becoming qualified as a lawyer, it was all ultimately for that one single goal of being accepted on a study tour to Britain. And of course, we know the reason behind that. He was determined to find out for himself the truth about his father, Genshin Asogi. There's nothing I wouldn't have done to get here. Be that agreeing to assume the role of an assassin or betraying people's trust. Well, you certainly did a fine job of betraying mine, Asogi. Interesting. But why was Inspector Gregson the target? I have no idea. Those were the orders from Britain. I was in no position to question them. You have no idea? Really? I find that hard to believe. Oh, do you? Judge Jigoku was once a visiting student from here in Britain himself, of course. Perhaps he has some connection with Inspector Gregson from that time. I wonder if one of the visiting students then was also part of an assassin exchange. The defense really ought to catch up. With what? With the fact that the assassin exchange has absolutely nothing to do with the case under scrutiny here. Yes, I've already admitted to recruiting Asogi.
Hold it!
I presume you're referring to the incident that occurred during Kazuma's passage to Britain in January? The awful tragedy that took place on the steamship. Word arrived at the ministry some 2 weeks after the ship's departure from our shores. The visiting student had been killed, but his body had somehow gone missing in Hong Kong. The news was wired to me from a detective I'd placed on the ship to accompany the assassin. Obviously, Kazuma didn't actually die at all, but he did lose his memory, including all details about a special mission. Did you not consider dispatching another assassin at that point? That wasn't possible, simply because that black-clad young student over there had already put himself forward as Asogi's replacement, and there was no way to stop him from reaching Britain. My hands were completely tied. So Mr. Sholmes' strategy worked perfectly. He predicted everything that would happen. Months later, my memory returned, but I'd never intended to go through with the assassination mission anyway. So you were playing me right from the outset, were you? Is that it? I'd sooner be guilty of that crime than of taking someone else's life. I was prepared to do whatever I had to in order to get myself here to Britain. This line of questioning has gone on long enough. All the court should be concerned about in the testimony given by this witness are details relating to his relationship with Inspector Gregson and the victim's murder. In that case, as I've already made perfectly clear, I had no connection to the man or his death. And you have some means of substantiating this plea? Come on. Can we go ahead and present here? I don't really think I need to.
Objection!
Yes, as the court has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Jigoku's cabin. However, we can be sure that, contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times. What? I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st. What? Where did you get that? It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember. Herlock Sholmes again? According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Grouse were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill. All crewmen were away from their posts? And during that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime. There we go.
Objection!
A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent find, Ryu. But it amounts to nothing. Why? Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin. Now we have to prove that incident occurred in his cabin. We know it did because we saw the bullet hole. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show the testimony to be false. Your accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel? Do we actually have evidence of that? Maybe just a small component, but we don't have the thing that talks about the bullet hole. Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Jigoku's cabin that night. I'm certain of it. Because the defense has the evidence to prove it. You will present the evidence for the defense at once, counsel.
Take that!
Judge Jigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch? A pocket watch? That was the wrong word. And if you will observe, The victim's pocket watch, which we know he treasured, is missing precisely that part. It can't be. Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20 minutes evacuation drill in the cabin occupied by you, Judge Jigoku. Well, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer? We got him.
Objection!
Expertly maneuvered, Ryu. Oh no. And your argument sounds entirely plausible at first. But rather like this pocket watch, it's full of cracks. What? And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way. I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year. Sorry? If I'd known that it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world your ridiculous bombast. What a jerk. I think it's clear that the witness will have to give further testimony. When you hear what actually happened in my cabin that night, you'll notice the pitfall into which you've stumbled. Prior to your renewed testimony, I would like to clarify one point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume? Yes, I do. Very well then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship on the evening of the 31st October. Now we're getting somewhere. Of course, as a man of law, I have no intention of obstructing justice. I don't know. More testimony, but this is where we're ending today. Next time, we're going to hop into this next set of testimony and figure out, hopefully, what really happened in that cabin. Maybe we'll get the truth about how exactly Gregson was murdered, finally. We'll see. And then with that truth, we'll start to unravel, perhaps, the bigger mystery about what happened 10 years ago. We'll see. But that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all are amazing. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Make sure you take care of others. I'll see you next time. Peace out.